Welcome to the Healthpreneur Podcast. My name is Uriel Kame, New York Times bestselling author, former professional athlete, and founder of Healthpreneur, the world's leading company helping health and fitness experts start and scale high-end coaching businesses. If you want to attract more clients, learn how to convert them without feeling salesy, and deliver an amazing program for them on the back end, if you want to be inspired by what others just like you have gone through and how you can do the same no matter what life throws your way, then you are in the right place, because every single week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to be bringing you the best to help you take your knowledge and expertise to the next level with your health or fitness coaching business. And if you enjoy what you see and hear and would like to take your business to the next level, then I invite you to check out our free online training over at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. And for now, let's get into today's episode. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. Yuri here. I'm joined by a special guest today. His name is Angus Burke. He's one of our HBA grads, and I'm excited to reconnect with him today about some of the new stuff that he's working on. Angus, what's going on, my friend?
How's it going, Yuri? Glad to be here.
It's going well. It's going well. Give our viewers and listeners a little bit of context about who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into the meats and potatoes of this conversation.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Angus Burke. I'm the founder of EP Health, and I've been in the health and wellness industry for 10 plus years. Prior, I had a fitness company, which I sold last year. Then prior to that, I had a strength and conditioning company focusing on youth soccer players. And so really my focus now on a day-to-day is for the most part, marketing, business development. So we're in health and tech and startup space, so obviously all the stresses that come with that, and all the different arenas of job juggling as well. So that's for the most part. I've worked with lots of different clients in person and online throughout the years as well. So
nice, awesome. I didn't know you did strength and conditioning for soccer players.
Yes, yeah, that was my that was the first gig. Yeah, and I know obviously that rings true a little bit with your experience.
It's my bread and butter back in the day. Very cool.
Yeah, lots of band work.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. So let's jump into today. What can I help you with? What do you want to get out of this conversation? What specific challenge or opportunity can we explore here?
I think more than anything, it's always just, getting more feedback in regards to refining outbound processes, and then making sure, any sort of tools, tricks, anything that you would recommend to get people through the funnel, and maybe at a higher conversion rate as well. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you a little quick background. So our funnel starts up, we're B2B, size 150 to 500 employees. And so strategy is, for the most part, email and LinkedIn, mm-hmm. with a strategic time. And then from there, we book discovery, demo, then from demo to decision maker. And we have, obviously we got the webinar that I learned how to build with your program as well. So we use that as a lead magnet. Mm-hmm. We use the health assessment as lead magnet, quiz as lead magnet. And then now we're testing out more conversational emails. So that's kind of our next sort of reporting period. So with like no links at all, no lead magnets, and testing that out. So you're looking like our avatar would be generally female, kind of in that 30 to 50 range, and with their pain points being, trying to increase retention, recruitment, morale, effectiveness, things of that sort. If you're thinking like what HR generally, what they're in charge for. So they're in charge of their wellness budget and their wellness and the wellness program for the most part for that side of the company.
Cool. So just so that we're all clear, so everyone understands what it is, like what people, so maybe you can clarify what people actually pay you for. Like, what do they buy from you? Mm-hmm. And what does that do for them?
Yeah. So our product, so essentially what we did is we teamed up with the #1 fitness app, and then we track health engagement for employees. So mm-hmm. they'll work with our dietitian and our health coach within that application with a one-on-one personalized program that goes into their calendar. And then we have a community group where they, similar to, just like Facebook groups, things of that sort, where, we're providing education, and we're trying to promote engagement with, webinars and, recipes, things of that sort. And then we try to gamify it as well. So whenever users are interacting within their health application, that information gets sent back to a front end where they'll do corporate challenges. Like one, for example, is like, I think right now we have one client, eat a piece of fruit and no candy. And I mean, that was actually, they actually suggested that one. And then so that information gets sent into like a leaderboard, and then we try to incentivize our clients that way as well. So
cool.
That's a quick nutshell.
Okay. So out of everything we've talked about here, or that you've talked about, what is the biggest gap that you want to fill? Like, what would be like if we could get clarity or momentum on one thing out of all this? What would that be?
I think it's that you're always chasing that outbound. You always need to constantly refine it to make sure that you're getting constant leads in. And so we kind of figured out like how many emails that's going to take, but really there isn't. Trying to find different new strategies of actually getting our prospects booked into a discovery is always something that would be useful. Or, and also maybe looking at some maybe different strategies of targeting maybe sort of some higher end ones, maybe like like a tier 1 type, where right now we're still early stage. So we're kind of just casting that net pretty big. So that's always useful. And then I think from just, anything, anything maybe you see, and even from a sales side too.
Right.
Yeah. So really that's So we essentially we purchase those lists, and then we since they're in the US, and then we go forward with prospecting them.
Cool. So with respect to the emails, these are email drops, or are you actually are you purchasing these lists, or are you using like different services to send out an email to a list of your perfect businesses for a specific data rate for that send?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we purchase a list, and then, we use various, Woodpecker, HubSpot, all those different tech stacks to get them out.
And then on LinkedIn, what does that look like? Is that a lot of manual prospecting, or are you running LinkedIn ads? No,
it's we use a software, and our VA helps with that. So that's always something you always have to be constantly making sure that you're doing that properly. And I found that as much less success rate as it was a couple of years ago, because people are just getting flooded with that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of have to hit them from a lot of different spots. But that's not something that we do manually.
Let me talk about LinkedIn for a second. So we've run LinkedIn ads. I would strongly discourage that. It was a huge learning curve and a huge waste of money. Not a waste of money, but just confirmation that I would never want to do that again. It's just way, way too expensive for the engagement you get. So one of the things that we have found to work really well, so a little bit of context. LinkedIn is actually one of the first platforms I started using years ago when we started Healthpreneur. Our first Healthpreneur live event, we had no following, didn't have much of a business, and I decided to do my first big event at that time, which is not a good idea. So we used LinkedIn we filled 2/3 of the seats from conversations on LinkedIn. So I think I had maybe 2,000 connections. And what I quickly realized on LinkedIn is two things. Number one, people are not as responsive as they are on like Instagram or Facebook, for instance. So there's more of a lag if we look at the sales cycle there in terms of conversations. But I think the big opportunity on LinkedIn is positioning through organic content and then engaging in conversations via direct message. One of the things that we found to work really well is LinkedIn. It's a bit of a different animal in the sense that a lot, for the most part, it's very cold outreach, right? Hey, I just noticed we've got 2 connections in common. We should connect, right? So it's very tough to move from that into, hey, want to buy my stuff? Which is what a lot of people do on LinkedIn, which is why it doesn't work well for them.
They're ruining it.
Totally. It's like, yeah, I've got this great opportunity. You have 30 minutes to jump on the phone. No, I don't. So what we found to work really, really well on LinkedIn is we will send out, and if you're using some type of automation that allows you to broadcast your first connections, this could be really cool. If you have any type of valuable content / content that positions you as an expert in the field, you can send that out as a helpful, just like, hey, hope you're doing, like, hey, Angus, hope you're doing well. Just had this article published in Forbes magazine, thought you might find it interesting. That's it. And what that does, or you can post it on your blog or from your blog or somewhere else. And what that does is two things. Number one, I don't know why these phone calls keep coming through. Number one, it positions you as somebody who's, or your company as someone who's like, all right, these guys are kind of, in the know, they're kind of with it. Second thing, it's all value adding without asking for anything in return. So if you look at LinkedIn, the way I consider LinkedIn is it's really a long-term play. So if this is now, and this is 12 months from now, think of, let's say the money coming out of this, and this is obviously probably a better way to use this analogy, but let's just say the money comes out of the relationship 12 months from now. The way most people do this on LinkedIn is they reach out to somebody at 11 months and 3 weeks, and they're like, hey, how's it going? Want to buy my stuff? And it's like, hold on, dude, like, cool your briefs. So what I would suggest on LinkedIn is consider the sales cycle on LinkedIn to be longer, and consider that to start now. So that you're constantly adding value and staying top of mind for these people, so that when there is an ask, the likelihood of them saying, yeah, let's check out this demo, this sounds awesome, is a lot higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Have you played with any of the groups in, let's just say like, for example, for our industry, like corporate wellness, and trying to kind of position yourself as an expert within those groups with content? Is that something that you've seen success with?
Yeah, I think it just takes a lot of time, right? It takes time and a huge amount of repetition. The key with that is like, you just have to be top of mind, right? It's always, see, the thing is, it's not the best product that wins, it's the best known product that wins, right? And that means you constantly have to be in people's feeds. And again, if we're looking at the group strategy, that might look like content, daily, like a video, something like just adding value. And then what I would recommend as well is dropping in engagement type of stuff. So you talked about starting to experiment with some emails that have no links. This is a huge piece of what we do. We call it conversational closing. We have a whole program based on this as well called First Client Formula. And all it is creating social content, because SEO is very tough to crack unless you've got a big platform already. So social content that sparks a conversation that can lead to an enrollment. So some type of engagement might be something to the effect, like what would be a question you could pose to these corporate HR people that would get them to respond in some way, shape, or form?
Respond, or like click on an article or something like that? Respond. Just asking them if they have any sort of wellness initiatives for this year, potentially. That would be something directly that I would ask them.
Yeah, so really simply, I mean, you can ask them inside the group, do you guys currently have a wellness initiative? Just yes or no in the comments. That's it. See, the thing with engagement is we have to think of what is the lowest friction that we can offer people. Like, what is the easiest thing we can ask of someone for them to, if we think of it's like they click a thumb, right? That's a really simple ask. What's the next level of ease after that? It's not going to be a huge paragraph answer. It's going to be like, would you like this or that, right? Or do you currently run this? Instead of saying, hey, what's your biggest challenge? Like, no one's going to divulge all that stuff, right? So we want to think of what is going to be the easiest thing for people to engage with. So for instance, like in our Facebook group, we'll ask, what do you enjoy better? Or what do you enjoy more, speaking or writing? Just super simple, right? the purpose of that post is nothing more than just creating engagements. That's all it is, because LinkedIn is probably the same as Facebook and Instagram in terms of the algorithm, where anything that gets engagement is going to have more frequency or more deliverability. And then that's going to tie back into you, so that if people, let's say you have a post and 20 people engage with it, and that continues on and on and over time, what's going to happen is LinkedIn is going to say, hey, anything that's coming from Angus Burke tends to get more engagement. We're going to show it to more people. Right?
So what would you suggest in terms of frequency? Would you, right now, for example, we do have this is where our audience is. Mm-hmm. And so with our audience being on this platform, we do post a couple times a week, right? And I post it from a few different, from the company one and a few different of our private ones.
Yep.
Would you suggest even on a daily schedule throughout the week? If it's, good content, mostly stuff from the blog, what would your recommendation be there?
Yeah, so I think we post on LinkedIn probably 4 or 5 times a week. So what we do is, and this, you don't have to do this, this is just an example of what we do, is if I shoot a video that's 2 or 3 minutes, that'll be transcribed and that's turned into an article from our page. So like not a post, but an article. So then we have LinkedIn essentially as kind of like a secondary blog for us. So all that content is being shared as an article with the video in that article. And then obviously people can see that. That's a much more, it's more passive. Like you're just hoping that people will see that. But I think it's important to have that type of consistency and that cadence, because number one, the more you share, the more it positions you as a thought leader, right? The more of your own stuff that you share in terms of your opinions, your beliefs, all that kind of stuff. So that's in terms of a cadence. I'd say ideally daily, at least a post. It doesn't have to be an article, but at least a post, right? Just some type of thought that you're going to put out there. Because that, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. And then would you recommend sort of, I think you have up here in that you got engagement, like let's just say it's an article, it's education, engagement, like maybe like 5 to 1, 4 to 1, or is it kind of,
I would do, so the thing with content is content should never be about teaching the how. Content should always be selling, right? Which means you're always selling an idea, a belief, a philosophy, something you believe to be true. And for instance, you might have a piece of content on why it could be polarizing, like why most corporate HR programs or corporate wellness programs suck, right? Something a little bit more polarizing. It's like, hold on, dude. Some people are going to be like, you're crazy. Other people are like, yeah, I agree with that. So it's not so much about, the 3 top ways to get your employees to be more healthy. I mean, you can do that occasionally, but I think social content is most effective when it's based on opinion, right? SEO content is what people type into Google.
Right.
5 best ways to do squats. Like posting that kind of stuff on social media is dead. It's marketing in general should be mostly like marketing is sharing your opinions. That's really what it is. It's sharing your opinions and your beliefs, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to repel the wrong people and attract the right people to you, right? So you might have people in your target audience who are seeing your stuff and they're like, yeah, this Angus guy is posting some really thought-provoking stuff. And maybe now nothing's going to happen, but maybe in a couple months from now when they're ready to pull the trigger or they're investigating, looking at a corporate wellness opportunity, they're going to think of you top of mind because they continue to see your stuff and it resonates with them or it doesn't resonate with them, right?
Right.
So that's the whole thing. So that's why I call it social content, because it's more engaging as opposed to the top 5 ways to do push-ups and stuff like that. And in terms of what type of mix, I don't know. I mean, you could do, I don't think there's a golden rule with this one, but I do think the key is consistency. So let's say that you did Monday, Wednesday, Friday was more of like a content piece. Tuesday, Thursday was more of an engagements type of question. And then Saturday or Sunday could just be like a video.
Right.
As an example, right?
And then like engagement content to funnel, to some sort of funnel.
So here's the thing is with the engagement stuff. So the idea is that So we'll call this social content. That's going to spark a conversation. And this is going to ease enrollments. So what we're doing here, the social content, for the most part, is not going to have a call to action, like not a link, okay? But when you do, there's two ways of doing this. Number one is you can actually have a call to action, which is like, hey, if you're interested, type yes in the comments below, and I'll DM you the details, right? So a call to action could be, and then the rest of the conversation happens in private. So we want to give in public, sell in private. So that's one way, is the content itself is valuable. By the way, if you're interested in seeing how this might be a fit for your organization, just type yes in the comments. I'll send you a DM. We can, figure out whatever. That's the first way of doing it. The second way of doing it is that when someone comments on your post, you can actually DM them. I think you can on LinkedIn, depending on the level of connection you have. And you can just be like, hey, Angus, thanks so much for your comments on my post. Really appreciate that. Just out of curiosity, ... Right? So what we're doing is we're using the public forum to just start engaging with people. And then the people who do engage with you, whether it's a thumbs up, like a like or a comment, we can then just send them a little message in their inbox, because now they know who you are, right? They saw your article, and now that kind of opens the door for a bit of a conversation. So those are the two ways that I would use calls to action, if you will, within the content, as opposed to just being like a link to the blog post, link to whatever. And that's what we found to be most effective, both on LinkedIn as well as Instagram and on Facebook. And a buddy of mine who does a lot of money teaching millennials how to build online businesses, I think he's got about 400,000 followers on Instagram. And everyone, well, there's a lot of talk around Instagram about the swipe up, right? You get 10,000 followers, you can swipe up so that people can go to the website. And he found the swipe up traffic was the worst. So what, they don't even offer swipe up anymore. All they do now is like, hey, send me a DM and we'll go from there. So everything is about personalized communication, right? And that's where a DM offers you that opportunity, is now you can get into their inbox, go back and forth with them a few times, and wherever that leads you is wherever it leads you.
Are people just the conversion rates on these landing pages? I mean, I assume they must be going down because other people can kind of tuned off. Is that kind of really what?
Yeah, it's tough to say why, but I think part of it is there's just so much noise out there. And this is something like most people will never take the time to respond individually to every single person who comments on their post, like even just in the thread. Then to take it to the next step, to be like sending that person a message, that's a whole other level of stuff. I don't even do that, right? I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But if you've got a VA who can do that, I think that's a really good use of your time. Because the thing is, people buy from people, right? Even if you're in a business to business scenario, you have to have those relationships. And that's really where, and I think especially in corporate wellness, having those relationships is huge. And it's very tough to sell. Doesn't matter if it's an ebook or a piece of tech or whatever. It's a lot easier to sell if you've had a conversation with someone than if they just go to a landing page and hit the buy now button.
Right.
And that's always going to be true, I think, from the beginning of time to the end of time. But I think the key is being able to, in that process, is being able to give people all the information they need to be able to make an informed decision, right? So they understand what they're getting into. They see you as the best fit, and then when they're ready to move forward, it's a lot easier to make that happen. Does that make sense?
Yep, it makes lots of sense.
Yeah. So out of what we've talked about here on LinkedIn, like what makes the most sense for you in terms of something you could deploy for what you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having that more refined strategy with the post, that's something that I could definitely start implementing right now, because there hasn't been much sort of thought in regards to how to kind of take that next level, besides just jumping on Hootsuite and publishing out articles here and there. So I think that makes lots of sense.
Cool. And then for the emails, so the emails that you guys send out to these various lists, like just give me like a rough idea of what an email might look like. What is it directing to?
It can look, I mean, again, just depending on what kind of campaigns we're doing and depending like on what lead magnet we're doing. Right now we're testing out a real conversational one. So we're doing a split A/B test with them, and they'll both get probably like, we'll send out like 10,000 emails per. And, it's more so, hey, are you going to this conference? A little bit off topic, a couple emoticons in there, talk about my dog on the third one. So this is a new one. Put in a GIF at the end of it for the breakup email. So testing that out. So we'll see how that goes. Prior, it was more so kind of more stereotypical, like this is what we do, this is the niche, this is the desires, the results, this is how we can help you in X amount of time with X amount of percent. Mm-hmm. And that's, and then eventually, do you want to get on a call? So that's, obviously that's worked to a certain extent. So we're just trying out a couple different approaches. We'll try out a different approach for this month.
Yeah, cool. And so those are the email lists you guys are buying and then sending out to those.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How often are you guys doing those pretty
How often? All the time.
So it's like a daily?
Yeah. The outbound process is pretty. It's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has to be. It's just to kind of get in the door and in the space that I'm in.
Yep.
So yeah, they're constantly. So like it's kind of like a little bit of a Venn diagram. Somebody engages, interacts, and then they go to HubSpot, and then they'll be on a different sequence because they clicked here, opened here, and
mm-hmm.
Things of that sort. So it's still kind of a little bit in the infancy phase in regards to building out that huge Venn diagram, but it's for the most, at least we have the processes in place.
Cool. Do you guys have you guys considered outbound sales, like phone, cold call?
Yeah. So we have our sales rep will do. He'll make phone calls just depending on the engagement that he's seeing with those emails, and then mm-hmm. he'll follow up that way. We've seen, it's kind of interesting because like the phone call connect rates within our target market is 14%, and
so that's like cold outreach to a random company.
Yes. So after maybe they engaged, and I think industry average is apparently 10. Mm-hmm. After I tried at one point when I was trying to figure this all out, over 1,000 employees, like more enterprise style, 0.1%. Connect rate. So it's just like good luck trying to get anybody on the phone. So then that's where probably then you got to use all sorts of different creative methods with like LinkedIn and all sorts of different things of that sort. So so that's kind of the craziness of so many people trying to get a hold of these people.
Yeah. So I think, outbound sales works, but it's just a huge amount it's just volume, right? That's all it is. And if you have someone who loves doing that, cool. But at the same time, it needs to be complemented by the stuff that you're doing. What else? Have you guys done anything with respect to Facebook? So like Facebook ads or Facebook targeting or anything like that with your target audience?
Not yet. And you know what, actually, this is a question I have for you, just because when our next, next kind of phase of the marketing, obviously we're going to put money into more of our, paid advertisements. So, with getting people back in through maybe the webinar funnel, maybe it's, some LinkedIn ads, which doesn't sound like that's a good idea from your experience. Just reassessing all the paid channels and looking at what's the most kind of effective way going forward. So we're not doing anything right now.
Cool. Yeah, I think with Facebook, it's interesting because you can, and again, they're always changing the back end system and stuff. But based on behaviors and demographics, you can target CEOs or C-level executives, corporations, stuff like that. So it's like if I were in your shoes, I would definitely have some type of perfect client pipeline that was running to that type of audience into a webinar, and then from the webinar into a phone call, and just having that run and making sure the numbers make sense at some point. Because that is just a really nice automated foundation while you're doing the LinkedIn and email stuff. And if you find that the Facebook traffic is viable, then that's great, right? So that would be something I would definitely consider as well.
Are you finding any difference with demographics that are getting higher percentages with that webinar funnel?
Well, it depends. I mean, like it's funny because some people say, well, busy people don't have time to watch webinars, whatever. Listen, like the thing is, the most important thing to always remember is that if someone is in enough pain, they will put aside the time to do whatever they have to do, whether that's watch a webinar, jump on a phone call, fill out a form, drive across the city. The challenge becomes when our offer is it's kind of a nice to have. It's not a big deal. So for instance, I live on the west end of Toronto and BMW is on the east end of Toronto. And I had to take my car in because the air conditioning broke at the beginning of the summer. Now, to drive east end of Toronto to west end of Toronto is not something I would ever want to do. But the problem had gotten to the point where the AC was not working and it was boiling hot outside. That was a must-have solution. So I decided, okay, I'm going to take a day, whatever, I'm going to drive out there and that's it. But to go in for just an oil change, I'm never going to do that, right? I might go down the street somewhere local. So we always want to think of what we're offering to our audience. Like this has to be something that solves a major pain or problem in the organization or, for the individual. And if that's the case, people will find the time to put aside, right? And I think, with corporate wellness, it's probably going to come down to dollars and cents a lot of times in terms of how this is going to help them make more money and profit for their shareholders. And so just really being able to relate that message and possibly even showing how what they're currently doing is leaking money right out of their business, right? So if they're not aware of a problem, or maybe they're aware of it, maybe this exacerbates it to the point where they're willing to take action.
So that brings up a question. So in regards to the messaging, and I've been kind of going back and forth because obviously it's a B2C B2B blend really. So where that first message has to connect with the HR. So we're not saying, hey, your insurance costs are high or whatnot. Would you suggest even just kind of get, hey, like, are you, would you like to have a little bit more energy at work, at the same time impact everybody that you work with in a positive way, or something a little bit more, kind of get to what they're doing with their health journey, so it connects with them a little bit more instead of just absenteeism rates, retention, recruitment, where it's focused in on what they have to do as an employer.
Sure. So this would be the individual HR person, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Think about like, what is the thing? What keeps them up at night? Like, what's the thing that really in the back of their mind or the top of their mind is like, shit, I got to figure this out.
Right.
Right. That's where it has to start. Because I'm sure they probably want to have more energy, right? I'm sure they want to do all this great stuff. I'm willing to bet there's probably something more pressing on their plate that is probably tied into their company that's really stressing them out, for instance. Maybe it's, I don't even know, like you would obviously know that culture more than I do. Yeah, I mean, like top of mind, like what do you think that might be? Or is that something you need to explore a little bit more?
No, I mean, they're juggling so many different things, right? So the wellness is on low on the priority list for the most part. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't sure if even just relating back to how like a healthy program that they be able to use and they can kind of get excited about it would be beneficial, but it's difficult.
Yeah, like I think it's like an HR person, you have to figure what drives them, right? Do they, for instance, are they going to be driven by introducing something to the company that's going to make them look like a hero because they came up with this amazing solution that just saved the company? Or is it learning about something that's going to make their job and their employees' lives a lot easier? So it really comes down to, and this is why the most important thing we do is like really understanding that avatar, that perfect client, right? What are the fears, frustrations, and desires? Because when you can tap into that, that's where all messaging stems from, right? That's where all marketing comes from. So really understand like, what is it that they're going through? and being able to sit in their, stand in their shoes, sit in their seats. So they're like, holy cow, that's exactly what's going on right now. This person gets me. They probably have something to say to this. Let me check it out. So yeah, that's again, like having that clarity is really, really key to making that messaging as powerful as possible. And that'll help with your Facebook ads. That will help with your content. That will help with the engagement stuff you do. So, yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Cool, man. So has this been a helpful 30-minute conversation for you?
It has.
Yeah. Cool. So what's the one thing from today that you're going to start putting into action to move this puppy forward?
Just writing out a couple more of the steps here and procedures from the social side of LinkedIn. Definitely can get that going right away.
Cool. Awesome. Wicked, Angus. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking the time. Great to reconnect and see what you're up to now. All of you guys listening and watching, hopefully you found this valuable. Even if you're not in corporate wellness, a lot of the fundamentals are very similar to dealing with individuals. So thanks so much. See you guys in the next episode. Angus, thanks so much, buddy.
Awesome. See you, Yuri.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Healthpreneur Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, here's what I'd like you to do right now. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Healthpreneur Podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us a rating or review. It helps us get in front of more people and change more lives. And if you're ready to start or scale your health or fitness coaching business and want to start getting in front of more people, working with them at a higher level without trading time for money, then I invite you to check out our free 7-figure health business blueprint training, totally free right now. And you can do so at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. For now, thank you so much for joining us. Continue to be great, do great, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.